There are many reasons why people love audiophile gear. I hope that the reason is about the music, and it should be. But there's a lot of other elements that come to light when it comes to audiophile grade. Where is it made? The engineering, the ingenuity, and the downright quality of the parts. Well, today's brands, well, I should say brands, we're talking about both Audison as well as Hertz. And we've got product specialist Justin Bond joining us to talk about what it is to be an audiophile and how these two products absolutely fit the bill. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Audison and Hertz, and it starts now. Welcome, everybody, to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and we have on the show one of my favorite people. We've got Justin Bond joining us from both Audison as well as Hertz to discuss what makes these products a perfect fit for those enthusiasts looking for the ultimate in sound reproduction. Now, Justin, we've got a lot to cover today, but why don't you break down for us how our chat is going to unfold?
Hey, Ben. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the ideology behind this level of gear when it comes to Audison, the attainability of the quality of this gear and the sound that this reproduces when it comes to Hertz. We'll talk a little bit about our manufacturing process, our research and design, and ultimately just why these products are placed where they are and they do what they do in terms of the entire ideology of an audiophile in general.
Justin, I'm really excited to dig into this with you, but first, I'd like to offer an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you dealers why you should love it. And when we come back, it's me and Justin, and we're going deep on Audison and Hertz for audiophiles.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and its reliability.
People love it.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. As mentioned, we've got our special guest today, Justin Bond. Now, Justin, we're talking about audiophiles, and this is a term that, quite honestly, deserves a little bit of attention when it comes to defining what it means, because I feel it could be a subjective term in many ways. I might look at it as one thing, you might look at it as another. But on that note, I'd like to hear how you define the term audiophile.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. The term audiophile is a funny one because a lot of people automatically think that it just alludes to expense or price in relation to quality. And we know that sometimes something that costs a ton of money isn't necessarily the best or the best quality. So I think when we're talking about audiophile, I think it's the ideology that what you're listening to is built or the product is delivered with kind of like the absolute best of the best that that company can produce, or complete lack of compromise. If a certain material or a certain engineering method makes, a 1-2% difference in the performance, then I think that has to be done. I think that's kind of where it classifies into that kind of audiophile category. I don't really think that it's like a financially based thing. Certain things do cost more money to produce. I understand that when in terms of cost for performance, but I think, being hung up on the word audiophile in relations to this is the most expensive blah out there really isn't kind of doing justice to it. At the end of the day, you could have the most highest performance sports car with the best motor, but if you have terrible brakes and terrible tires, or you put bad gas in it, you're doing an injustice to the whole, system. And I think that translates the whole way, especially into audiophile, or when we get into car audio in general. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So for us at Audison and Hertz, we consider ourselves very lucky to be able to produce every single thing in terms of that system, right down from our interconnects to our connection power wire to our amplifiers, speakers, subwoofers, that kind of create the elusive audiophile system. I think there's not a ton of companies on the market that can do that, or maybe that do that with the amount of quality, the QC and the care that we use.
Justin, I feel like the term audiophile encompasses many different stages or pieces of a pie. And we're going to go through said pieces as far as Audison and Hertz go, so that the viewers tuning in can get a better appreciation and understanding, in fact, for the amount of detail and work that goes into maintaining this status of product that you currently have in your catalog. So I guess the first piece we should discuss is R&D, because everything starts with an idea, a fundamental gathering of thought that's put into paper and put into motion to be able to create a product. So let's talk a little bit about the unique R&D process that exists over at Audison and Hertz.
Yeah, so Audison was founded in 1987, and our R&D center is located at the company's headquarters in Potenza Picena, Italy. So today, there's about 40 continuous resources that work in the R&D center. Over 30 are actually engineers specialized in the construction of sound, supported by several external collaborators. So to date, we have 9 patents, 5 models registered, that are registered designs and protected at the highest level. And we were actually one of the first car audio companies to achieve the ISO 9001 quality certification in the beginning of the early 2000s. So for us, R&D is a major focus in terms of our progression. And when we talk about Audison versus Hertz, for us, Audison is building for the future, the conceptualization of new ideologies, of new materials, of new technology. And Hertz really is that implementation for the current marketplace. So that allows us to take everything we've known or developed on the Audison side and we apply it to our Hertz, and we can create like a really much more price attainable, probably over producing per dollar piece of hardware that works really well. Our process generally we use the software to create a prototype, Clipple or FEM, which is finite element analyzation. And then what we do is we put that unit, once a prototype's created, through an abundance of tests. So first off, we will measure it, obviously, and monitor the response with Clipple or laser guided measurement system. Then we'll test it into our sound lab, or like an on-site sound lab. We have rooms built within the R&D center to test and compare speakers against other speakers, not just our own brand, but other brands as well. Then we'll do it in our listening room, and then actually in a car. So once a speaker has satisfied in all 3 of those environments, from theoretical to practical, a final design is decided upon in terms of materials and manufacturing and the overall design of the speaker, grills, etc. And then from there, we step down and we build what's called a pilot batch. Right, so we build a production run of the speaker, and then from there we actually peer review it. So it's reviewed by in-house staff as well as select customers to make sure that what we're shooting for really is what we're delivering. You hundreds of times you've seen people RTA a vehicle and we've done a perfectly flat curve, and they said, something's missing, or something doesn't sound right, but on the measurement, the response, it looks flat. That's why we peer review it, and it's not just Audison employees; it's select customers and dealers, right? And that really helps us kind of get all the information we need. And then from there, we go on to full-on mass production. And once that hits, obviously our job is done, and then it comes down to me and all the other guys out there to introduce that speaker to the world, to the marketplace, to get people super excited. So in terms of R&D, obviously we consider ourselves a company of high sustainability, and effectively sustainability to us is looking to the future and adopting solutions that make it better. So whether it's our production or manufacturing or our R&D or just our speakers in general, we're always pushing the boundaries at Audison, and we're always inventing and stepping forward into something that may not be overly conventional, but driving technology, I guess.
And here, Justin, is where the conversation for audiophiles really starts to get interesting when it comes to both Audison and Hertz. One thing that makes this brand very unique is that it does offer pretty much everything in the entire system. What I mean by that is amplifiers, speakers, subwoofers, and even DSP, which is so critical in many of the higher end systems today. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about the philosophy of being able to have a say in every chain of that system, and what advantage that is for an Audison and Hertz to be able to be in the position to provide top of the line gear for all these categories.
Absolutely, Ben. And we consider ourselves quite unique when it comes to that situation. So first, I do want to speak a bit about Audison on the Audison front of things. So believe it or not, since 2008, we have won 11 EISA awards. Now, the unique part about winning the EISA awards and those 11 of them, so our most recent is last year, 23, for our bit drive software that debuted in our new Forza amplifiers. The year before that, our new Forza amplifier 12 channel actually won for that. But if you were to look at all 11 of those awards, they're not just for Thesis. They're not just for the top of the line, and they're not just for speakers. We have won awards for Thesis speakers. We have won awards for Thesis amplifiers. We've won award for Voce speakers. We've won award for Voce amplifiers. We've won award for DSP. We won award for the Bit 1, for the Forza, and believe it or not, we've won awards for our Prima or entry-level speakers. So when you have a brand that is so focused on R&D, the implementations of the ideologies and the technologies that are in those speakers trickles down through the entire line, which means that when you're getting, whether it's budget or entry level with Audison or MILLE with Hertz, we are all a family and we share all the design and engineering techniques. So you can be sure that all the philosophy and ideology is in every speaker. The only thing that changes is the materials that affect the cost and the manufacturing process.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity to now dive into some product. Now, you've mentioned it throughout this conversation. You said Thesis. Now, for those who don't know, Thesis is the absolute pinnacle offering that Audison has when it comes to car audio. It is comprised of both speakers as well as amplifiers. And Justin, I'd like to start with the speakers because there's so much technology and innovation built into these that it probably could take half an hour just to talk about them. But I do want you to touch on a couple of the key features that really make the Thesis speakers stand out.
Yeah, Ben, absolutely. It is quite a robust line. So Thesis, like one of the stars of our Thesis lineup is our TH 1.5 Violino tweeter. Now, one thing people need to understand with Thesis when it comes to all the Thesis speakers especially is that every part of a Thesis speaker for us is manufactured specifically for the Thesis speaker. So I'm talking about the baskets, I'm talking about the grills, I'm talking about the voice coil, the former, everything in there, even down to the machine head screws that are used for that speaker in terms of mounting the grill or mounting the backplate on, is developed, designed, and manufactured specifically for Thesis. It's not shared anywhere else. It's not an off-the-shelf screw, etc. Now, our Violino tweeter, what makes it special, obviously, if you guys have ever seen it, it's a large tweeter. We use a 34 millimeter voice coil on that. But in terms of that, what that does is it gives us a resonant frequency or an FS of around 900 Hertz. And that allows us to have a speaker that performs better in the lower frequencies. And due to the size, it can handle more power, and it also increases the reliability. We use the highest quality components. A lot of people don't know this, but like there's different grades of neodymium when we talk about magnets. Right? So on this particular one, we're using an N38H grade neodymium magnet. All right. So it provides 1.67 Teslas of magnetic flux density. All right. At the end of the day, when we talk about this gear, we're talking about no expense spared, not because it's expensive, but because it made a difference in that the way that the speaker performs. We're using a 38 millimeter natural silk dome on it, and we use extensive material characterization, such as like a laser vibrometer and finite element analysis, to make sure that we have a very smooth and extended response on that tweeter. And did I mention that like this tweeter will take 90 RMS at a 1800 Hertz 24 dB per octave crossover? So when we talk audiophile, we talk about no sacrifice. So there should never be the, well, yeah, this is my stereo. It sounds good for this, but it doesn't sound good for that. Or it's extremely accurate, but it doesn't do this. We shouldn't have that when we're talking about this level of gear. So you can be sure that when you get into the Thesis style of speakers, whether it's our Violino, our 3 Voce mid-range, or 6.5 sax, that the ideology is brought through the whole line, and it's designed to deliver on all aspects and characteristics of music. These aren't a speaker that just sound good on classic or classic rock. They are designed to perform in all kind of areas, and they have very, very, very good power handling, which means, you know, if you're listening to your music at, you know, this volume and you just need to get that little bit more, you don't have to be worried about thermocoupling or breakup or distortion being induced, because these speakers are built to handle it. So this is our TH-K3 Orchestra 3-way set. It's comprised of our TH 1.5 Violino tweeter, our TH 3.0 Voce mid-range, and our TH 6.5 sax mid-bass driver. Now, as you can see, all of these feature a machined aluminum chassis, and they all carry a unique design that's conducive to the entire line. Like I said, the tweeter is not small, but it is designed for a reason. It uses a 38 millimeter natural silk dome. It has a 34 millimeter voice coil, and it does frequency response up to 26K, optimized for off-axis installation. We don't listen to on-axis speakers inside of a vehicle. So when we look at the graphs and the frequency response graphs, it really does matter when this thing is 30 degrees, 45 degrees off-axis. If you notice on the back of the tweeter, you'll see our QR code, which is our EID technology. Scanning that will allow you to trace this speaker everywhere from the production facility to the owner. That's along the line of all of our Thesis product and almost all of our Audison product as well. Down from there on our 3.0 Voce speaker, the first thing I want you to notice is our TPX cone. It's that semi-transparent cone that you see there. It's very unique because this cone is made of a thermopolymer that's extremely strong and one of the lightest on the market. It's also very, very well damped to provide no colorization to the sound. It's also very unique as that cone is a one-piece design, but it's comprised of different thicknesses throughout the cone. So around that center logo there actually has a different thickness than the external sides of the cone. That's all going to help with the rigidity and keeping the movement of that speaker fully linear. You're going to see that there's 4-spoke design on the back of that Thesis, as well as a beautifully machined chassis. All right, that's to allow as much air movement in the back to keep that speaker cool, because a cooler speaker is a happy speaker, and that increases the reliability. All right, same thing. We're using an M38 H-grade magnet on that, and it features a 30.5 millimeter voice coil as well. And then last but not least, the bad boy. This is our 6.5 sax. So this is a 50 millimeter voice coil. It's a copper-clad aluminum ribbon coil, and it's done like that to maximize the force factor and heat dissipation within there. It's got a super, super low inductance on the coil to optimize the emission in that medium to high band of frequency range. So that 2 to 3K range, it uses our TPX membrane. So like I said, it really does reduce frequency response irregularities in the mid band. And it also helps keep that speaker moving completely linear throughout the motions. The basket is a single piece of die-cast aluminum with the 4 pairs of spokes. We got high excursion suspension and spider, right? It's for the physical behavior of the speaker. And once again, that QR code on the bottom for the EID technology. So it's traceability from manufacturing stage all the way up to the owner. This set is very, very much built with the utmost quality in mind and the complete lack of compromise. If you guys have ever had a chance to listen to Thesis, it's nothing short of amazing. And it really can, let's say, ride the lightning per se, if you really want to go past 10. There is no short about it. The most difficult part about Thesis is mounting the tweeter when it comes to compromise.
As mentioned, the other part of the Thesis system is, of course, the amplifiers. Now, I must say, Thesis amplifiers are a work of art. There's no other way to explain it or describe it. I've had the pleasure of seeing them in person, and they are every bit as just epic, really, is the word I can think of. Now, Justin, we're not going to spend too much time on these amplifiers because we've spoken about them before, but to not mention them when we're talking about Thesis, I think would not be appropriate. So please enlighten us a little bit about Thesis amplifiers for those who don't know.
Yeah, Ben, when it comes to amplifiers, our Thesis stuff has always been regarded as nothing short of amazing. We currently have 4 amplifiers in the Thesis lineup. They're not small, they're big. They're A-class and class AB, depend on how you have them biased. The first amp is our THHV Venti, which is a kind of 2x800 RMS 2 ohm A-class amplifier. Now, this amplifier has been classified as the amplifier and still remains one of the world reference amplifiers in the standard of high-end audiophile in-car amplification. Certain things with this amplifier, including the path length of the traces, how both positive and negative traces actually directionally run opposing each other to eliminate the factor of noise, or the multiple power supplies encapsulated in a polymer resin, as well as frequency match to kind of eliminate the absolute chance of any noise, have all been taken into consideration. It does remain the flagship of what it is today, and I'm sure you guys haven't seen it. If you have seen it, it's a beautiful amplifier. It's heavy. It's got a giant glass top, a bunch of indicator lights, and we show off our circuit board because so much design went in that circuit board to make it aesthetically pleasing, as well as symmetrical, as well as equivalent path length with different, direction. So the engineering and the R&D behind it is, it was created a little while ago, and it still remains one of the most amazing pieces in car audio today. And then jumping down from the Venti, we get to our TH Uno, which is pretty much a 1500 RMS total power mono, and then we get our Due, which is a 2-channel amplifier, so it's 2x500, and then down there to our TH Quattro, which is a 4-channel. So we implement a lot of technologies in the Venti inside the Uno. Like I said, you can run them in different modes. You can run them high power or high current, class A bias, class AB, depending on what speaker it's going, as well as high resolution and full DA technologies. So when it comes to audiophile gear, it really doesn't get much better than this.
As promised, we are not only talking about Audison today, but Electromedia's other brand in Hertz. Now, Hertz has an incredible offering in affordable audiophile grade gear, especially when it comes to their MILLE speakers. The MILLE line represents many different models, and I think, Justin, there's one particular set we definitely want to focus on today, simply because the value is undeniable.
Absolutely, Ben. Like I said, Audison is really building and innovating for the future, and Hertz is the implementation of everything we've learned in practical application for today's market. So when we talk about MILLE, where do we fit MILLE in? MILLE is our flagship offering in the Hertz line. It is a culmination of pretty much everything we learn in R&D with Audison, as well as a couple new technologies that are actually unique to the Hertz line. But it is extreme performance at very reasonable price point. It is that audiophile-esque gear, if you must say, without the typical audiophile price tag. So the MILLE line of speakers itself started in 1999. And then with the use of the Klippel certification program, so we use a Klippel scan vibrometer, for design, and we use what's called the Klippo PM8 and for development and Klippo quality control for testing. It allows us to put a huge amount of resource and innovation into these speakers and ensure that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, as well as performing within a very minimal variance of the original speaker, right? The Hertz line itself has really unique technologies to it, but it all stems from innovation and being able to provide the absolute best sound experience within a certain budget. So this is our MLK1650 MILLE component kit. So it features a tweeter, a woofer, and a passive crossover. This kit actually won the EISA award in 2015, 2016 for Best In-Car Speaker Kit. The first thing I want you to notice is when we're looking at this tweeter, let's just look at, okay, obviously size. It is quite a large tweeter. It's a 28 millimeter tweeter, but it's like that for a reason. We use the machining out of this tweeter out of a solid aluminum block, as well as chambered in the rear. So what that does is this gives this tweeter an FS of 900 Hertz. So it gives us very wide extension in the low frequency range. It allows for crossing over this speaker at a lower frequency to ensure better blending in a car. I mean, the most popular kit in automotive right now is the two-way component kit. It is not necessarily the best when it comes to sound reproduction, right? Obviously, having 3 speakers playing a band of frequencies versus 2 is going to be much better. So by having the ML280 like this, being able to play as low as it can, it really does help give us the full, complete spectrum of audio in an off-axis situation with the two-way components. We use a Tetalon fiber dome that we've optimized with FEA simulation, so it has a ton of low distortion, really, really high improved dispersion rate, and a super solid frequency range, especially off-axis. We also couple the back with a high-density dampening material behind the dome, and it also absorbs a lot of the air in the rear chamber, and it provides fluid acoustic emission and high dampening and a lower frequency response. So the ideology and the technology that's in this teeny tiny little tweeter, it really is quite amazing. Fit, finish, machining, the diamond cut edge. When you get it in your hand and you feel it, it really is something short of amazing. Then from there, we move on to this bad boy here. I'm ML1650.3. So this is the woofer and the component set. So same thing. This is a full neodymium motor, and it's optimized with FEA simulation. So if you take a look there, we use a very low carbon content CNC machine plates around there. The reason we use low carbon content CNC plates is because it provides for the most maximum magnetic permeability and low distortion at high power levels. So it comes down to reliability and performance of this speaker. If you notice there, we use what's called our V cone. So it's a one-piece monolithic cone that goes down into obviously the very shape of a V in the center of it. Now, the reason we do that is A, structural rigidity. It makes that cone very, very strong. When a cone is strong, it allows it to take more power, move more air, and remain linear within the chamber to provide less distortion. We also use a cone that's comprised of like a cellulose pulp. So that kind of gives us that very well dampened pressed pulp cone with cotton fibers, and it increases the stiffness, it makes it light, and it just achieves a very wide frequency response and limited breakup at high frequency. We also use our boundary-free surround. So I don't know if you can see that, but the joint between the cone and the IIR butyl surround that goes around it almost has no line. So the cone almost is fluid into the surround. What that does, it actually increases the surface area of the cone. So if standard cone size from center point to edge is 60 millimeter, with the boundary-free surround, it actually gets us to about 65 millimeter, right? And what that does is just better efficiency and more frequency response in the mid-bass area. So when we're talking about Hertz, we really are talking about a lot of the practical application of everything we've learned. So I don't directly compare Hertz and Audison to the same thing because they're both built with different ideology, where Hertz is really that extremely high quality, performance orientated brand, especially with MILLE, at a surprising price. When you hear these speakers, man, you'd be blown away.
Nothing short of impressive, Justin. This is sheer amount of technology, features, innovation, materials, and all the above that go into these speakers that we've been discussing here. I did want to spend some time towards the end of this conversation to touch on DSP, because this is a category that, well, to be quite honest, Audison has been at the forefront of since the beginning. And to see the evolution in the DSP offering all the way to what is now available deserves a little bit of time, especially when it comes to modern audiophile high-end systems.
Yeah, it's funny that you say evolution, because we all know the Bit 1. Bit 1 is 2009. But what people forget about is the Bit 1 is 2009. It is now 2023, and we still sell the Bit 1 because dealers still ask for it, right? The OG Bit 1 was groundbreaking at its time, but it was so far ahead of its time that it is now, 14 years later, and people are still buying it, right? And then we take it to the Bit 1 HD Virtuoso, which is, our 24-bit, 96K floating point, high resolution, 12-channel in, 13-channel out flagship style DSP that offers the complete lack of performance when it comes to the chipset that's used in it. It literally is the best of the best with Shark floating point DSP processors. And now we jump down into our new line of amps DSP with a completely redesigned bit drive software that is winning awards and taking the market by storm. Because once again, we started heavy in the world of DSP. We're fantastic with electronics. So the combination of DSP amplifiers and together, it's a no-brainer for us, and that's why we're winning. And then we take things that Audison always has done, such as the input analyzer de-equalization system that allows us to kind of de-equalize the factory radio to get us closest to the flat response on the input side, to allow us to correct only anomalies on the the output side when it comes to speakers. A lot of people forget that, like, a DSP is not designed to compensate for signal that doesn't exist. It's there to correct anomalies that are introduced by the cabin's environment or the physical limitations of the speakers or the placement, right? So with us, having things like D-phase or DEQ or D-time alignment on the input side, and now with bit drive and the ability to analyze visually with an electrical RTA on the input side, we can compare, confirm, and correct on the input side, giving us the flattest signal to allow our tuning side to be much more representative of the speakers that are in there, not chasing down ghosts and anomalies that, hey, that frequency may not be there in the first place. So when it comes to audiophile gear or digital signal processing or amplifiers or speakers, we are very lucky with Hertz and Audison that we check off the boxes in absolutely every one of those categories.
So we've arrived at the end of our conversation, Justin, and I want to kind of end it with a very important statement and a question to you. For those tuning in, dealers, enthusiasts alike, what message do you have for them to consider Audison and Hertz when it comes to their audiophile grade selection?
Well, Ben, all I can say is that the way the world is going, and with the changes in the marketplace and the changes in online sales, there's a very good chance that we're going to see less foot traffic in stores. So that makes the product selection that a dealer is showing, speaking about, or qualifying customers to all the more important. And with these brands, with Audison, with Hertz, it's very easy to sell these brands and to show these brands and have customers experience these brands, because it's not just the speakers that perform, it's the ideology behind it, it's the price point in which they're situated, it's the support team at Automobility, it's the training programs, it's to give you that all-encompassing, feeling when, and confidence when choosing a brand. I mean, we understand that obviously it's a privilege to be sold in your stores. So we want to make sure that by partnering with Hertz, by partnering with Audison, that you guys are delivering the best product at the best prices with the best support, and you're selling a product that you can take a ton of pride in. a ton of confidence in, and you know that your consumer is going to be absolutely astonished with.
I want to take this opportunity and thank my special guest today, Justin Bond, representing the firm in Automobility, and of course, both Audison and Hertz. If you're looking for more information on any of the products today, here's the breakdown. For more info on Audison, head over to audison.com. If you're looking for more information on Hertz, hertz-audio.com is your destination. And if you happen to be a dealer in Canada, make sure you reach out to the team at Automobility, for they are the exclusive distributor for all things Hertz and Audison in Canada. And in my final closing statements, this is a brand packed with value matched with innovation. If you're looking for the absolute over-the-top presentation to your customer, that's something that will absolutely blow them away, not only from a sound standpoint, but just the sheer presentation, look no further than Thesis. This is about as outrageous as it gets when it comes to the top of the line, no compromise ingenuity. And to boot, the speakers are absolutely delicious when it comes to the way they sound. I do want to take a special focus on the presentation of the Hertz product today, because what this fills is a category that I call attainable audiophile grade. And that is, yes, of course, we all aspire to have the most top of the line, most exclusive type of gear to call our own. But reality sets in and we have budgets. I feel that the Hertz offering within the MILLE range of speakers does just that, is offer audiophile grade componentry, ingenuity, and presentation, but at a package that is much more attainable and for you as a dealer, repeatable when it comes to business. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.